The Lunaverse by RainbowDoubleDash. Episode 9, Carrot Top of the Line by Fizzy Orange. Chapter 1. A fine mist was clinging to the ground, the result of the rain shower the Weather Patrol had orchestrated the previous night. The mist lent a dreamlike aura to the early hour, when most of the population of Ponyville was still asleep. One pony in particular, though, was already wide awake. The hunter stood, silent like a deadly predator, crouched behind the wheelbarrow. She kept her cold gaze fixed on the wooded area that bordered the field. In the silent air of the morning, the early birds sounded like chimes or bells hidden in the woods. Suddenly, they grew silent. The huntress tensed in anticipation. Her quarry was approaching. A twig snapped, breaking the silence and causing birds to fly away in protest. The huntress held her breath and willed herself not to blink, afraid to miss her prey. The beast appeared from the mist like a ghost. White as a cloud, it stood, with eyes that betrayed a sinister and calculating intelligence. Scanned over the silent field. The prey's muzzle twitched, hoping to cast a scent of any enemy, but the huntress had been prepared and stood downwind from her quarry. With a majestic leap that surprised the silent observer, the creature sailed over the hastily erected barbed wire barrier encircling the field. Like a conquering king, the white intruder strutted down the field and chose its own target. Muscle tensed with wild fur as it began to pull at the unsuspecting victim to claim it for itself. The hunters could no longer wait, for the white intruder was about to run off once again with ill-gotten loot. "I eat you!" shrieked Carrot Top as she leapt over the wheelbarrow, galloping toward the bunny while gripping a large butterfly net in her mouth. White Bunny turned to look at the enraged pony. His eyes grew slightly. With one last effort, the bunny plucked his prize from the earth and ran off with one of the farmer's carrots. He just as easily as before avoided the barbed wire line, unhindered by the carrot he was carrying, and hopped back into the mist between the trees. Carrot was hot on his little heels, even if, she hated to admit, the little guy was pretty fast for his size. She was still at a full gallop when she too leapt over the barbed wire. For a tense minute she weaved between the trees, straining to keep up with her agile target. While the mist was thicker in the forest, affording the white bunny a mediocre camouflage, he was still carrying a bright orange carrot. It flickered in and out of view as he ran between the trees. Suddenly, Carrot Top saw her target duck through the hole under a large root that jutted from the ground. She made another leap to avoid tripping over it. She landed in a puddle and immediately slipped on the mud. With a wail of confusion, she slid backwards, landing on her back, while her momentum propelled her forward. With a thud, she slammed bottom first into a tree trunk. The discarded butterfly net landed on her face, covering her muzzle with the net. "Oh!" she said, defeated. My little pony, ah, my little pony, the red ship never meant that much to me, my little pony, but you're all here now I can see. Stormy weather, a loss to share, a musical bond with love and care, teaching laughter, it's an easy feat, the magic makes it all complete. You have my little ponies. How did I ever make so many true friends? You're watching My Little Pony, only on the Hub. It can happen only on the Hub. Created by RainbowDoubleDash. Produced by Hasbro. Read by Martial Art Fruit User. Sponsored by GAC. Carrot Top was muttering under her breath as she came down the path to Ponyville. Her little adventure that morning had left her nothing but mud splotches to clean and a bruised backside. Now she was clean again, but her bottom still hurt. It was still fairly early in the day, and as she expected, she ran into Charlie just as the element of laughter was about to walk into the schoolyard of Ponyville Elementary. The teacher waved at her farmer friend when she spotted her. "Hi, Carrot. What brings you to town this early morning?" she asked, putting on a smile as bright as the sun. "Nothing good," Carrot Top replied in a sullen tone. "Nothing very good. Charlie, have you spoken to Fluttershy?" Charlie put a huff to her cheek. "Miss Fluttershy? I'm afraid not. From what Dinky tells me, she's so shy she only speaks to RainbowDoubleDash, Ditzy and Dinky herself. Why?" Carrot Top sighed. Her friend's response had been what she had expected, but not what she had hoped for. Ditzy and Dinky were both out of town for the week, gone with Trixie, Lyra, and Bonbon to enjoy the beaches of Cayo Bio down in the south. Trixie had extended the invitation to all her friends, but Raindrops, Charlie, and Carrot Top herself all had duties to attend to. With the Dew family out of town, Carrot Top would have trouble talking to Fluttershy. The poor mare would hide at the first sight of a stranger. Carrot Top wasn't on speaking terms with the Weather Patrol captain either. Not after the incident with Gilda.
Her pony stole all my carrots today. It's been going on for several days, and I only caught sight of him 2 days ago. He comes every morning like clockwork and makes off with a carrot. Oh my, that's bothersome,
said the other mare, blinking in surprise.
It's so strange. Angel's never done anything like this before. For little sake, the little guy does full-size grocery shopping for her,
explained the farmer.
Really? Yes. Every week or so, Angel and one of Fluttershy's bigger animals walk into the marketplace pulling a cart, hugging a bag of bits, and carrying a shopping list made of drawings. It's quite hilarious to watch Angel convince the other merchants to drop their prices. He usually spends 5 minutes picking the best carrots for my stall. Not only do I want to talk to her to stop this, I'm kind of worried this might hide another problem,
explained the orange-haired mare. Shirley smiled at this.
Angel's a nice pet then, if that's all he does for Fluttershy. I understand your concerns, though. Sorry to say this, Carrot, but you might have to track down RainbowDoubleDash. That's what I'm afraid of. Thanks, Shirley. I'll see you later,
replied Carrot Top before resuming her walk into Ponyville. It was a little later, after a trip to the post office, that Carrot Top found herself in front of the Weather Patrol headquarters. The pony at the post office had explained to Carrot Top that all of Fluttershy's mail was being forwarded to RainbowDash's address, while Ditzy was on her well-deserved vacation, and since nobody else would have contact with the reclusive mare. The farmer was now hoping against all hope that RainbowDash would be behind that door. Carrot Top didn't like RainbowDash. She felt he was a lazy jerk who always caused problems for her friend Raindrops. The Pegasus and her Griffin friend had also threatened her livelihood before, nearly destroying her reserves with their thoughtless prank. At the time, she had been too worried about her stock to properly get mad, and now she felt like that anger could burst forth at the worst moments. She didn't want to have to do anything with Dash, but it looked like she had no choice. She entered the cavernous building that was Ponyville Weather Station, and looked at the crowd of Pegasi fluttering about. Seeing no sign of the polychromatic speedster anywhere, she waved Thunderlane over. Thunderlane was the Pegasus usually in charge of this corner of the Ponyville sky over her farm, at least when Raindrops was busy elsewhere, and the two became friends over the years. A while ago, they entertained the thoughts of going out, but that led nowhere, and both, in common accord, had decided to simply remain friends. The way he was looking at Blossomforth these days seemed to hint that he had gotten over the farmer by now. Carrot Top was happy for her friend. "Hey, CT!" said the stallion, landing in front of her.
Hey, Thunderlane. Have you seen RainbowDash today?
She asked. He shook his head before speaking. Nah, she changed her schedule at the last minute again and took off for a week-long vacation. I haven't seen her around town since. Carrot Top frowned at that.
You wouldn't happen to know where she would hang out?
She's probably hanging out with Fluttershy, said Thunderlane, shrugging a little before he began to hover slightly.
Thanks, Thunderlane. I won't keep you longer. See you later.
See ya, CT! Carrot Top turned back to leave the weather station. If RainbowDash was indeed at Fluttershy's guides, it would make things easier for her. Feeling no need to postpone the confrontation any longer, she headed for Fluttershy's rustic home on the other side of town. On her way, she realized that, as fast as Angel might be, the trip there for Fluttershy's house might be quite a journey for a little bunny. That was another detail that made his recent behavior so strange. Hopefully, this whole thing would be behind her soon. Carrot Top had been looking at Fluttershy's guides from the path below for at least 5 minutes by now. She wasn't sure how to approach, whether she should do so silently or with enough noise to warn the socially awkward Pegasus that lived within. She was also wondering if RainbowDash was inside. Finally, she decided to give an advance warning and began to whistle a happy tune she had heard Lyra perform before. She whistled for half a moment before making her way toward the door of their rustic home. She was about to knock when the door opened, and RainbowDash's multicolored head poked out, glaring at her. "What do you want, Scissorface?" she asked sternly. It took a few moments for Carrot Top to find her voice.
I need to talk to Fluttershy.
No! Fluttershy doesn't want to see any pony! Replied RainbowDash, shutting the door. Carrot Top started knocking the door, calling out,
RainbowDash! At least tell me what you... Let me tell you what's going on!
Stop it! You're scaring Fluttershy!
RainbowDash, please! This is important!
Go away, Scissorface! Carrot Top's cheeks puffed in anger. She glared angrily at the blank wooden door. When it failed to catch on fire, she turned and walked away in a huff. "Chuck!" she muttered to herself. "You know what your problem is," began Raindrops. You're a doormat. If it was me, I would have knocked on that door again. Probably until it broke. Carrot Top glared at her. With enough force, he felt he was about to shoot lightning bolts from her eyeballs. But the Pegasus only took satisfaction in the fact her friend didn't outright eject. Part of Carrot Top had to admit her friend was right, sadly. It was also the same part of her that was a doormat. The irony wasn't totally lost on the farmer.
You're right. I need to learn to be more assertive,
she said, letting her head hang low and ears droop. The pair met up for lunch at a local sandwich shop during Raindrops' break. They were sitting outside under the shade of a large purple top. There was a soft breeze, and the sun had dried up what was left of the nightly rain shower, making it a great day to eat in the shade. Carrot Top had been a bit too bothered about her encounter with RainbowDash to finish her meal just yet.
Raindrops, did you miss out on the trip to the beach because RainbowDash took off for a week without warning?
Asked Carrot Top, looking back up. Raindrops shook her head. No, I already volunteered for Evertree watching duty this week before Trixie's invitation came. I would have been busy anyway.
Do you think RainbowDash is a jerk?
Sometimes, but I try not to let it get to me. She's still a darn good weather pony, even if she doesn't take it seriously. Either way, you need to confront her. This is your livelihood we're talking about, and she still owes you for that prank, said Raindrops, skidding up out of her seat. Well, it was fun, but I have to get back to work. You go back there and demand RainbowDash let you settle this bunny problem. You hear? See you around.
Have a nice day,
said Carrot Top. Desi hugged her head again, ears flat against her head. She stood like that for a few seconds, wondering how she could face off against RainbowDash, when a voice brought her back to the present.
Why still looking at the ground look, my dear? A beautiful mare such as yourself should never look so depressed,
said Rarity, walking toward Carrot Top.
Oh, thank you, Miss Rarity. It's kind of you to say I'm beautiful,
replied the farmer.
Well, I only speak the truth. Your mane has such amazing volume, such sheen. Whatever do you use to make it look so gorgeous?
Asked the fashionista.
Vitamin B, liking carrots,
answered Carrot Top, busting a bill.
Of course. Now, allow me to end you an veneer. And tell me, what's bothering you?
Carrot Top sighed and told her about the Carrot Top Fifth, then finding herself faced with RainbowDash and Fluttershy's cottage. Rarity took the empty seat across from the earth, her chin resting on her hoof, and listened to the full story. When it was finished, she allowed herself a short moment before speaking.
You know, I don't know Fluttershy personally. In fact, I find it hard to recall when the last time I even laid eyes on the poor thing. But I know RainbowDash.
This declaration made Carrot Top's ears perk in surprise.
I didn't think you two had much in common.
Rarity let out a little laugh, like rain falling on crystal.
Oh no, not at all. However, this is not something I want you to go around repeating. Every year, when Fluttershy's birthday rolls around, RainbowDash comes to me to help find the perfect gift for her oldest friend. She's done so ever since the two arrived at Bunnyville. They arrived at the same time, didn't they?
Said Carrot Top. Rarity nodded in agreement.
Oh yes, right around RainbowDash's birthday. RainbowDash wouldn't be here otherwise. The point is, Fluttershy is a soft and fragile flower, while Rainbow is anything but. The poor dear is simply out of her depth when it comes to finding a gift for her soft-spoken friend. So she came to me for help. I could tell it cost her some measure of pride to do so. You see, Carrot Top, RainbowDash is brass, proud, and braver than any Pegasus has any right to be. But she is also rocked with insecurities and doubt.
Carrot Top blinked.
How can someone so overconfident be insecure? That's the thing, my dear,
said Rarity, making a wide-hoofed movement to accentuate a point.
She is such a braggart because she is full of doubt. She is not so much assuring other ponies of her skill as she is reassuring herself. RainbowDash sees herself Fluttershy's protector, and is quite loyal to her, there is no doubt. She is, however, terribly ill-equipped for the task. If I were to take the guess as to why she takes you away with never a chance to leave a message, it is because she is currently dealing with something she can't handle alone.
Rarity stepped down from her seat and walked to put a hoof on the other mare's shoulder.
You are the element of generosity, my dear. The least you could do is give RainbowDash the benefit of doubt. If you want to solve your problem, I advise trying to get her to open up to you, rather than comforting her head on, she said, removing her hoof. If you try too hard, she'll only take it as a challenge and will want to prove you wrong. No matter what, to win, so to speak. You had to be on her side. Thank you, Miss Rarity. You've given me lots to think about. Think nothing of it, my dear. If you ever need help making your inner beauty radiate, you can find me in my shop.
With that, Unicorn lets Carrot Top to mull over the situation. Finally, she stood up and stamped the ground. She was going back to Fluttershy's cottage and getting the situation resolved. This time, it would be different. Chapter 2.
This time won't be any different.
That was the thought going through Carrot Top's head as he hid behind a tree near Fluttershy's cottage. Raindrop's reproach and Rarity's counsels had, originally, given her a new resolve to come and confront RainbowDash. But as she neared the house, all of that resolve faded away. She could feel herself becoming more nervous with every step. RainbowDash was kind of scary. Carrot Top wasn't sure how she could get a word in, let alone convince her to open up. She sighed and sat on her haunches at the feet. A sharp crunching noise broke the silence, causing Carrot Top's eyes to snap open. It wasn't loud, but to the pony it felt clear as a peal of thunder. She knew exactly what the noise was. Something biting into a carrot. She looked around, then spotted him. Angel! He was standing in front of the path leading from the road to the cottage, holding what was left of the carrot he had stolen that morning. He looked at the mare with a derisive smirk, and tossed a little orange nub into the air before catching it with his mouth. He chewed loudly while still staring at the sitting pony, then swallowed and wiggled his eyebrows at her. Once again, Carrot Top launched herself into a gallop at the little bunny, all the while shouting his name in anger. The little guy zipped toward the modest home of his owner. As he neared the door, it opened. With great agility, he slipped in between the hooves of the suddenly dumbstruck RainbowDash. Carrot Top saw the Pegasus and tried desperately to brake before she could collide with her, eyes bulging. She managed to dig her hose to the ground and halt her gallop a few inches from RainbowDash, then quickly and awkwardly backed away a few steps.
RainbowDash,
she said, grinning sheepishly.
This is the pony I want to see.
RainbowDash shook her head as if to clear her mind, and her surprised expression turned back into a cold stare. You again! I told you to go away, Gingerface! No pony bothers Fluttershy! The sudden aggressiveness, coupled with the insulting nickname, made Carrot Top puff her cheeks in anger. She glared back at RainbowDash, who didn't seem to notice. As the Pegasus was about to close the door, the Earth Pony realized she needed to act fast before her window of opportunity closed with it.
Wait, please!
She said, her expression turning into a pleading look.
Can I speak with you? I really need your help.
RainbowDash's eyebrows went up as she stared at the farmer with skepticism. Carrot Top quickly thought of something to say that would stroke the daredevil's ego.
Help me, RainbowDash! You're my only hope!
RainbowDash sighed and stepped outside, closing the door behind her with her hind leg. Fine! No need to be a drama queen. What is it? Carrot Top allowed herself a small smile before putting her business face back on.
Angel's been stealing my carrots. I don't know why he would do that. I'm afraid something's wrong. Can you tell Fluttershy to talk to him? This is my livelihood, you know.
Carrot Top RainbowDash bit her lower lip, her eyes quickly looking everywhere but at Carrot Top. Yeah, I understand carrots are important, said Rainbow, unconsciously rubbing her face like some phantom wound was bothering her. But I don't think Fluttershy can talk to Angel right now. Now it was Carrot Top's turn to raise her eyebrows in surprise.
RainbowDash, is something wrong with Miss Fluttershy?
Had Rarity's analysis been right? RainbowDash's reluctance to talk and her sudden nervousness appearance sure seemed to hint at it. Carrot Top could see a bead of sweat roll down Pegasus's cheek, and her wings were fluttering as she was getting ready to flee. It's none of your beeswax, okay? Declared RainbowDash, her wings flaring. Carrot Top decided to press on. I can help you, no! I don't need your help.
I know you don't need my help, but I want to help Fluttershy,
argued the farmer. No! Carrot Top gave the other mare a pleading puppy look she could muster.
Please, RainbowDash, why are you acting like a bodyguard?
Because I am! Declared RainbowDash, flying upward and pressing her face against Carrot Top's. The reaction took the farmer by surprise, as he stared silent, staring into the nervous eyes of the Pegasus. RainbowDash suddenly realized how aggressive she had become, and landed again, looking downward. Sorta, she said, kicking a loose pebble with her front hoof. Carrot Top looked at the usually confident mare with concern.
Sorta? I can lend you an ear if you want to talk about it.
The weather pony seemed to consider it for a moment. Finally, she motioned toward the nearby pond with her head, and flew softly toward it. She landed and sat on her haunches. Carrot Top soon joined her, sitting as well. Do you know how Fluttershy can afford all this? She asked, waving her front hoof at the cottage and the various animal habitats one could see in the backyard from their vantage point.
I always assumed she had a government grant for running an animal shelter.
answered the farmer. Rainbow Dash gave a short, sharp laugh at this statement. Ha! Nah, it's those snobs who run the veterinary clinic in town that get one.
Then how?
Promise not to tell any pony in town? Not even your friends, especially not that Trixie, asked Rainbow.
Carrot Top nodded. I swear on my honor as an element of harmony. Cross my heart, hope to fly, stick a carrot in my eye.
Carrot Top made a crossing moment over her chest, then wiggled her hose like wings, then put her left hoof on her closed eye. The whole ritual made Rainbow Dash snort in amusement, but it seemed to placate her, and she began speaking again. Fluttershy isn't her real given name. She was born Fluttering Posy, said Rainbow. The name seemed familiar to Carrot Top. Her brow furrowed as she tried to remember where she had heard that name. Suddenly, she remembered a few newspaper articles, as well as Trixie telling her about families that had representatives at night court.
Posy?
She gasped at some realization.
As in wealthy, weather industrialist, thunderous Posy? As in Duchess Fragrant Posy who has a seat in the night court?
Rainbow Dash was smiling a little. You sure know stuff, Gingerface. She doesn't want any pony in town to know, but yeah. Fluttershy is Thunderous Posy's daughter. She doesn't like the whole business thing. She just lets the family handle it, and they send her money in the mail. Carrot Top blinked.
How did you ever meet an important pony like that?
Rainbow Dash looked up at the distance. The haze of nostalgia seemed to fill her eyes as her smile softened. You know, how I met Fluttershy is also how she got her new name. My mom is staff manager at the Posy Mansion back in Cloudsdale. She handles the butlers, maids, and cooks and stuff. Kind of boring stuff, but it's hard work. One day, back in my first year of elementary school, I came down with a bad case of the feather flu. I had to stay home, but Mom couldn't stay to watch over me, so she got me a guest room for the day at the mansion. A small filly with a multicolored mane was lying on a big comfy bed, and the cavernous room is made out of cloud. In a cloud house, the level of luxury isn't measured by the amount of space, as space is easy to come by in the air, but rather how much furniture is it made out of cloud. Normal material, such as wood or metal, would normally plummet through a cloud construction. It was possible to get anything enchanted to float on clouds. However, the bigger the object, the more expensive the enchantment. Little Rainbow Dash didn't know all of that, but she did know she never had lain in a bed that wasn't made out of cloud before. The large mattress was almost as big as her whole room back home, and the dressers and nightstand were made out of that weird hard stuff they called wood. The blankets were really different than she had back in her room, but the pillows and the mattress felt weird to the point she couldn't rest. Her mother had warned her not to get out of bed, so now she was bored. Really bored. The only thing she had to amuse herself was her firefly pussy, but even the captain of the Wonderbolts couldn't make this big empty room fun for long. Right now, she was reduced to staring at dust bunnies dancing in a ray of light. That and coughing. The door of the room opened softly. At first, Rainbow Dash thought it was a stray gust of wind because she couldn't see any pony. After a moment, a small head poked in timidly. It was another filly, about her age or maybe a bit older, with a pale yellow coat and a long pink mane. The two fillies spent what felt like an hour just staring at each other.
Hi,
Rainbow Dash finally said.
Hello,
replied the other filly in the softest and sweetest voice Rainbow had ever heard.
Are you Miss Claudia's daughter? Yep, I'm Rainbow Dash. What's your name? I'm Flutter.
The filly began. Her voice became progressively quieter and harder to understand. Little Dash cocked her head to the side like a confused dog. What? The little filly hid her face behind her hoof and tried again.
I'm Flutter.
At that point, the little Pegasus's voice turned to squeaks that started to go beyond the hearing range of little ponies. Rainbow Dash blinked a few times, scratched her face, coughed, and finally smiled. Fluttershy! Your name is Fluttershy, right? The newly christened Fluttershy turned to look at the other filly, then nodded and smiled softly.
I like that name, Fluttershy,
she said, trotting up to the side of the bed. Rainbow Dash helped her up with a fireplace plus. Want to play? I'm bored.
Oh, that's a wonderful, right? I have the whole set, but I don't know very much about them,
said Fluttershy. Rainbow Dash sat up in her bed, smiling broadly.
Really? Awesome! I know all about the Wonderbolts. If you go get your toys, I'll tell you all about them. I'd like that,
replied Fluttershy, heading back to the door. We've been friends ever since, Fluttershy was homeschooled, but we went to the same fight camps during the summer. That's where she began using the name I thought of for her as a real name. Fluttershy doesn't like other ponies to know about her family because it's just too much pressure for her. She doesn't do pressure real well, and she's been bullied enough for how fragile she's always been. Even her family calls her Fluttershy now, said RainbowDash, finishing her story.
That's,
Began Carrot Top, fishing for the right note in the word.
awesome odds for a name. You've been her protector for years now?
RainbowDash looked toward the horizon and frowned. I don't think it's fair for other ponies to be mean to a nice pony like Fluttershy. She's just so kind. She doesn't deserve any bad things. It's just not fair. Carrot Top nodded in agreement.
Is that why you followed her to Ponyville?
RainbowDash sighed. At that moment, she looked tired. And Carrot Top could see something was stressing to Pegasus. Something like that, yeah. It was her father who told me Fluttershy was moving to Ponyville. RainbowDash sat nervously on the large couch in the richly decorated room. The living room was filled with furniture. The floor itself was covered with thick carpeting that had tickled RainbowDash's hooves as he moved across it. On the walls hung portraits of the Posey family's ancestors, set in complex wooden frames. A vase of flowers sat in the middle of the low table at the center of the room. The flowers looked like exotic delicacies. RainbowDash considered eating one to calm her nerves, but that might not be acceptable. She had been called to meet with Mr. Thunderous Posey himself, and the leader of the Posey family rarely met ponies for anything that wasn't important. Finally, a door at the far end of the room opened, and Thunderous Posey flew in at a leisurely pace. By Pegasus Stallion standards, Mr. Posey was big. Really big. At least a head and a half taller than RainbowDash herself. His legs looked powerful, and his large wings, when fully flared, made him look almost as big as Princess Luna herself. His coat was an immaculate bright color, as bold as Fluttershy's was subdued, and his short mane was a deep sunset red. His cutie mark was a large, ominous dark cloud, surrounded by 6 bolts of lightning emanating from a cloud. It was said that, in his youth, his wing beats could resemble the rumbling thunder. He looked at RainbowDash with deep green eyes and a slight smile that was nothing but polite.
RainbowDash! Thank you for your time. Orchid?
He said, presenting Dash with a flower from the vase.
Sure, Mr. Posey. Thank you, sir.
She replied as politely as possible. The flower was exquisite. It seemed to taste of foreign rainforest and tropical storms. It was almost, just almost, enough of a distraction to make RainbowDash miss what Thunderous said next.
My little Flutter is ready to leave the nest. She wants to move down to the ground.
The industrialist said, a certain note of disdain creeping to his voice as he said the word ground. Dash swallowed her flower and looked at her friend's father in surprise. I had no idea, sir.
I don't think she wanted you to worry. I don't blame her for wanting to leave. Poor Flair just doesn't have what it takes for the world of business. And I would be a terrible father if I forced her to act against her nature,
said the stallion, pacing back and forth.
However, I cannot help but worry about my dear daughter. She's moving to a small earth pony town called Ponyville in the hills surrounding Caroline. It was a calm and harmless little hamlet, but I feel much more comfortable about it if she had a good friend with her.
It took a few seconds for RainbowDash to understand what the stallion meant. You want me to move to Ponyville with her? There's Posey nodded in agreement.
Exactly! She's hoping for a fresh start, maybe conquering her crippling shyness. So she refused to let me lend her any of the staff. You understand that if you're to follow her, you simply cannot move in with her. You'll need a cover story.
Cover story, sir? Asked Rainbow, attacking what was left of the orchid stem.
Unless my sources are wrong, you have a weatherman's home, Miss Dash, yes?
He said, waiting for RainbowDash to nod in agreement before continuing.
It just so happens that the Ponyville Weathermancer has gotten a very sudden and unexpected promotion to a larger posting in Connecticut. Congratulations, Miss Dash. You got the job.
The only reason RainbowDash didn't fall backward at this declaration was because she was sitting on a couch. She had to not spit the piece of orchid stem she was chewing, swallowing it instead.
Me? But I barely got my diploma. I don't have any experience being a weather manager.
Thunderous dismissed her concern with a wave of his off.
Your teachers tell me you're very talented, and that's the only reason you had low scores for us for lack of attendance. It's a small town in the middle of nowhere, but the pay is still very good. I even secured you a nice cloud house that was on the market there. You can move in on the same day as Flutter. I know I can count on you to protect my daughter.
RainbowDash was still a bit dumbstruck by the proposition, when Thunderous walked up to her and put a hoof on her shoulder. The industrialist looked at her with a very serious expression.
You will take care of her, won't you? It would be a shame to be forced to give the job to clear Claudia. The weather manager job doesn't offer the same perks as the staff master of my estate does.
Thunderous Posey said, the implied threat lingering in the air. That's all. Of course you can count on me. I'm Rainbow Dash. I've been taking care of Fluttershy for years now. She said, puffing her chest out. I can take care of a few clouds in Hicksville. Thunderous Posey flew back up with a satisfied smile on his face.
Very good. My secretary will bring you all the information you need. I bid you good day, Miss Dash. Thank you for being there for my daughter.
Rainbow Dash finished her second story and stood silent, looking down at her hooves on the grass. Carrot Top began to understand why the Pegasus was acting the way she did. She felt bad for the chromatic speedster to have been put in such a position by her friend's father. She also wondered if the reason Rainbow Dash napped so much was because stress caused her to miss sleep. Stress that she was hiding from every pony, including her best friend. Now, she really wanted to help this crazy mare deal with whatever was troubling her. Truth is, I don't deserve my job, but I can't just ditch it completely. Dash said, I don't mind doing weather work, but I'd rather not be the manager. Cloud Kicker is way better at this stuff. You mean, when she starts stressing out about over everything weather? Said Carrot Top. Yeah. That poor pony is always nervous when things get out of control. But Raindrops is there. She can keep her cool. Mr. Posey didn't have to give me the weather manager spot just to get me to come help Fluttershy. The Pegasus said, stopping her hoof. He underestimated your loyalty to your friend, commented Carrot Top. You're a good friend to Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash. And I don't think you deserve the manager job. Raindrops is always praising you. Weather Pony looked at the farmer, eyebrow raised in surprise. Raindrops? Really? She's always on my case. Carrot Top nodding, and a knowing smile on her lips. She's always complaining about you, but she's also the first to defend your position. She says you're the best flyer in Equestria, and that you could be the best weather pony if you just caught in time once in a while. She also was really impressed the schedule has never missed, she explained. But please, don't tell her I told you so. Once again, Rainbow Dash seemed to rub a phantom one as she chuckled. I won't. I know how Raindrops can get. Carrot Top got up and put on a bright smile. Well, Miss Dash, you may not need my help, but I really want to give it to you. I'm sure we can solve whatever is bothering you much faster if we work together. Rainbow Dash seemed to ponder her proposal. She looked back to the cottage, then back at Carrot Top, absentmindedly scratching her chin with her hoof. Finally, she nodded, more to herself than to Carrot Top, and got up as well. She closed her eyes and sighed, as if to steel herself for what she was about to do. Know any herbal remedies? Chapter 3. Things were different after all. Carrot Top was standing in Fluttershy's cozy living room. There was a comfortable-looking couch in the corner, a small bookshelf, and all sorts of rustic furniture. Shades of green and wooden panels gave the whole place a more grounded feel than the other Pegasus houses that Carrot Top had visited. More importantly, the room was filled with birdhouses and other animal residencies of all kinds. Bags of feed were stored at random intervals in the room, and there were even small animal-sized cages and flights of stairs leading to and from holes in the walls. A pair of mice was looking up at Carrot Top from one of those holes. Curiosity etched on their little faces. Carrot Top gave the animals an awkward smile. They bolted back into the darkness of the hole. She strained her ears so she could hear the soft murmur of Rainbow Dash's voice coming from the room above. She had gone ahead to warn Fluttershy, the newcomer, and tried to get her to agree to see Carrot Top. Or, rather, make Flutter understand that she didn't have to see her if she didn't want to. She didn't have to just accept Rainbow Dash's decision. Finally, the Pegasus's multicolored head packed into the room. She's ready for you. Just take it slow, okay? She told the farmer. Carrot Top nodded and went up the staircase that led to Fluttershy's room. The room was decorated similarly to the room below, with a mirror on top of a dresser against one wall, and a bed against another. A couple of chipmunks were asleep on the bed, a cat rolled up in a ball on a nearby carpet, and a lot of birds perched around the room in various states of wakefulness. A pet wasp was happily buzzing as it licked what was left in a nearby jar of empty honey. Fluttershy was hiding in bed, covers drawn up against her eyes and over her muzzle. Carrot Top could see the Pegasus's fearful eyes were red. It shows he had cried a lot recently. Her mane was in a complete state of disarray. Hello, I'm Carrot Top.
the Earth Pony said, as softly as she could. Fluttershy seemed to almost physically shrink before Carrot Top's eyes, as her ears flattened against her head.
But at least she didn't cry or faint.
Carrot Top took it as her cue to continue. Tell me what's wrong. Maybe I can help. Fluttershy glanced at Rainbow Dash, then at her animals, then back at Rainbow Dash. The Pegasus sighed and nodded, giving Fluttershy to go ahead. The yellow mare reluctantly lowered the covering hiding her face and closed her eyes before speaking.
Here's my voice,
she said in a loud, rumbling, baritone, and very male voice. Carrot Top felt the floorboards beneath her hose rattled by the deep voice. All of Fluttershy's animal friends suddenly ran away in fright, which visibly saddened the Pegasus. Before she could start sobbing, Carrot Top spoke up. I can fix that, I think, said the Earth Pony, before turning to the other Pegasus. How long has she been like this? She woke up like that last Thursday. She was fine the day before, explained Rainbow Dash. Carrot Top rubbed her chin with her hoof. Her green eyes aimed at the ceiling. Normally, an affliction would take Fluttershy's voice away, not make it louder. She had her suspicions, but it felt like a long shot. In the end, she figured asking about it probably wouldn't hurt. I don't suppose Fluttershy ever goes to the other three forests, asked Carrot Top, pointing her hoof toward the window and the gloomy forest beyond. She didn't expect Rainbow Dash's response to that question. Every once in a while, said the Pegasus, shrugging. Come to think of it, she went there Wednesday evening when one of her chickens ran away again. Wait, do you think that has anything to do with it? Carrot Top's eyes were wide. Yes! Miss Fluttershy, did you happen to notice if you stepped into a grove of plants with blue leaves? Fluttershy's nod made Carrot Top gasp, which, in turn, made the Pegasus mare flinch in surprise. I know exactly what happened to you, Miss Fluttershy. You stepped in Poison Joke. Rainbow Dash flew up in surprise, hovering above the door, obviously panicking as her gaze kept leaping between the two mares. Poison Joke! Oh no, is it dangerous? Should I bring her to the hospital? Tell me it's not too late! Rainbow Dash's reaction frightened the yellow Pegasus, who looked on with horror-stricken eyes. She was obviously on the verge of tears, and Carrot Top did not wish to know how much damage her new, louder voice would cause as she began crying. She tugged at Rainbow's tail with her teeth and brought her back to the ground with a thud. Calm down! It's all right. It won't harm her. Poison Joke is a potent magic plant, but essentially harmless. It takes something about you and twists it around, like a group hike. It should wear off on its own in about a week, but I know a way to fix it sooner, she explained. Both Pegasi let out a sigh of relief. Even Fluttershy's animals returned from their hiding places. Carrot Top smiled broadly and turned towards the stairs. Come on, Rainbow Dash. Show me what kind of herbs Miss Fluttershy keeps around. Then I'll send you off on a shopping trip. You sit tight, Miss Fluttershy. By the time the sun comes down, you'll be back to your old self. Shopping trip? You should be able to find some of the plants we need at Ditzy's shops, and the other ingredients at Blossom Force shop, said the Earth Pony, trying down the stairs. Rainbow Dash made a couple of expressions of disgust at the last name. Oh, not Blossom Force! Her shop smells too girly! Carrot Top could only giggle at the Pegasus. Blossom Force ran a successful shop that sold perfumes, scented candles, soaps, oils, and other scented products. Honestly, Rainbow Dash wouldn't be a fan of such a place. Normally, the White Pegasus Pony didn't sell the raw ingredients she used in her concoctions, but Carrot Top figured out she would help out in this situation. Manhattan first guest star. It didn't take long for Carrot Top to survey the rather impressive array of medicinal herbs, plants, and tea leaves that Fluttershy kept on hoof. Each jar or box had a label and carefully done drawing the plant inside. The farmer could identify each of them at a glance. A few minutes later, Rainbow Dash was zipping toward town, Fluttershy's saddlebags on her flanks, and a shopping list clenched in her teeth. Carrot Top finished pouring the mix of herbs she had prepared into the steaming hot bath. The water in the tub turned a pleasant shade of pink, and a reassuring aroma wafted into the room. Carrot Top breathed in the pleasant scent inside. She looked back to see Fluttershy, finally up from her bed, standing in the doorway. The poor thing must have been feeling really scared, not certain what was wrong with her, to say nothing of the fact her new voice had her little friends. She must have sobbed for days on end. Carrot Top gave the Pegasus a warm smile, that the Pegasus returned with a small smile of her own. Once Dash comes back, we can add the other ingredients. Then, it's just a matter of taking a nice soak and relaxing, said the farmer. Carrot Top sat down next to the tub and began to absently-mindedly mix some water with the tip of her hoof. Fluttershy just stood in the doorway. making small circles with her front hoof, and trying to look everywhere but at the new pony in her home. The awkward silence seemed to be ready to stretch until RainbowDoubleDash could come back from Ponyville with the other ingredients. Something had to be done about it.
I didn't know you went into the evergreen forest. That's pretty brave of you, Miss Fluttershy,
said Carrot Top, looking back at the Pegasus. The yellow mare then blushed, then shook her head.
No, I'm serious. I know of a lot of ponies that would be too scared to go in the forest. I suppose you go there for your little animal friends?
Fluttershy kept blushing, but she managed to nod.
Well, if you want, I can teach you about these plants that you need to avoid, and those you might want to gather. I have a sketchbook of plants found in the forest that my grandparents put together. I could come back another day and show it to you if you wanted,
suggested the farmer. Fluttershy's smile grew.
I love that,
she said with her big, rumbling voice. RainbowDoubleDash had come back a few minutes ago, and the bathtub had been filled with the missing ingredients. The weather mare had suggested the farmer go fix up a meal while she stayed by Fluttershy's side. Carrot Top hadn't argued. She was heading to Fluttershy's kitchen to see what she could put together. Apparently, the poor dear hadn't had a solid meal since her ordeal began. RainbowDoubleDash was probably famished after the frantic race he had been through to get the ingredients. Carrot Top stopped in her tracks as she entered the room. On the counter, opposite the doorway, was the reason for her presence in the first place. Angel. The full force of Carrot Top's emerald gaze hit the white bunny. Thankfully, Fluttershy's kitchen did not explode. Or did Angel's head. The bunny was glaring back to her, immune to her death glare, and he quickly pointed to something next to him. It was a bunch of carrots, one of them clearly cut at the tip. Carrot Top's eyes bulged. Then she gasped as she realized those were the carrots the bunny had stolen from her.
Since last Friday,
she said, confused. The bunny stood up to the counter and pointed to the table. There were a couple of silver bits sitting, exactly the price of the carrots would have cost if the bunny had purchased them at the market. After that, he jumped down and headed for the living room, starting past Carrot Top. Carrot Top snapped out of her confusion and turned toward the bunny.
Wait! Did you take those carrots from me to force me to come here?
White Critter turned around and crossed his little arms, and looked at Carrot Top with a look of halfway between disbelief and annoyance. Carrot Top looked upward, into the right side of the bathroom, where Fluttershy was getting care of her condition, with a small smile. Allow me to translate Angel Knees. He basically said, well, yeah, of course I saved her, but don't take it too far. I only did that because she's my friend.
You knew I would want to help,
she said, looking back at Angel, tilting her head like a curious dog.
And you wanted her to find a new friend, didn't you?
The bunny shrugged and turned around to hop away.
You're a good friend, Angel. Fluttershy is lucky to have you. Thank you,
said the farmer, giving the angel a beaming smile. People, this may be one of the few fakes where I actually like the little rabbit! Well, that, and the next time I read the God Squad. With that, Carrot Top turned around. She was about to head further into the kitchen when she stopped, as if suddenly remembering something.
But the next time you pull a prank like that, you won't escape easily! We're clear on that, you little vermin!
She added in a harsh tone, not turning to look back at the target of her threat. Angel looked back at the farmer. Surprise ran on his little face. As he tried into the kitchen, he saw her departing form a satisfied smirk. It was almost closing day time when the door of the shop opened, making the bell above it ring merrily.
Welcome to Carousel Boutique, where every comment is chic, unique, and magnifique,
declared Rarity, drawing up to the door where she found a familiar orange-haired mare.
Why, hello there, darling. How did it go with RainbowDoubleDash and Fluttershy?
Carrot Top smiled and fastened the smile.
It went really well. I solved both our problems, and I think I made a friend or two today. Your advice was really useful, Miss Rarity.
Rarity just waved her hoof.
Don't mention it, my dear. It was my pleasure. I can't thank you enough. Without your advice, I don't think I could have gotten to a happy conclusion. If you need help with anything, I'd be happy to lend a hoof in return,
said Carrot Top, smiling brightly. She was smiling so broadly, her eyes closed in adorable crescents, that she missed the predatory gleam that suddenly appeared in Rarity's eyes.
Well, now that you so graciously offer your help, it would be rude of me to refuse it. There is, indeed, something you could help me with. Something I fear I may not ask of anybody else, replied the unicorn, her eyes brimming with excitement. I'll name it, said Carrot Top with a smile that progressively vanished as Rarity explained to Pride. A famous fashion photographer heard of my work and is coming to Bunnyville next week. It is a big opportunity for my modest boutique. I'll just to perhaps break into the Cantaloupe market proper. I need somebody to model my dresses, somebody with your kind of small-town charm and grace, said Rarity. Carrot Top stared blankly in confusion. I'm from Philadelphia. Rarity gave this a few seconds of thought, rubbing her chin before shrugging. Well, nobody's perfect, I suppose. Still, as a fellow independent entrepreneur, I'm sure you understand how arduous it can be to establish oneself in a market dominated by brand names. If one of the famous elements of harmony was a model for me, why, that would certainly make a powerful impression on photo finish. Help my business grow further. Good dear, I'll show you the dresses you'll have to wear next week. Rarity did put her hoof around Carrot Top's neck and gently pulled her toward the back of the shop. Carrot Top smiled nervously, but nonetheless, she normally tried to keep her mane and tail looking good, but never been one for fashionable clothes like Rarity made. She usually put all her money into the farm. Fancy hair products were practically the only luxury she would allow herself. The monthly trip to the spa with Trixie was a fairly new indulgence in her life, mostly due to the unicorn's prodding. More importantly, she realized that, while she did solve her buddy situation, she had completely failed to solve the most important problem plaguing her. She was still a doormat. She let out a sigh of resignation. Rarity seemed blind to the fact that the farmer was now pouting, lost in her own world. Did I ever mention I really like your mane? Cue the end credits! Well, folks, I think this episode was kind of necessary. Because while I was doing this the first time, just reading to myself, and as I neared some of the other episodes, I began to think to myself, Carrot Top really needs more screen time for these first few episodes. I mean, we've had plenty of time to see Charlie being a teacher. Trixie is awesome. Raindrops is a character I can relate to, especially past few episodes and later ones where we see more of how she deals with her anger issues. Lyra is probably my other favorite character on here, and then there's Carrot Top. For the past few episodes, we've never gotten to see her do much other than sell carrots and basically be the generosity one. The biggest time we ever got to see her just shine was during Longest Day, Longest Night, when we got to see her plant expertise. But this episode really served to make her develop her character. And I do like the fact that she's generous and very helpful, but a little bit of a doormat. And I can relate to that in a way. I'm always generous and willing to offer my services, but sometimes just let people just go on and on and on, and I can see where Carrot's coming from with this. I also like the fact that while she's generous and helpful, she's not exactly all that naive, and she will push herself to help as much as she can, even though it doesn't seem like anybody else will offer it. But I also like the fact that she actually goes into a pony in ideas in psychology and see what they need. In short, this was a must-needed episode for Carrot Top. Join us next week, though, for when we see our favorite musician. Lyra, take it away. Such a beautiful job playing music. Got a wonderful mare friend, and I... Oh, hello, Carrot Top. Hello, Lyra. Oh my gosh. Octavia? Is that you? Why, yes. I have officially decided to visit you and make you an offer you just can't refuse. Really? Oh, wow. This is just so fantastic. Lyra, I don't trust her one bit. Utterly fantastic. Lyra, be careful. I can't wait. Lyra! Next time, Lunaverse. Musicians and dreamers. Oh, I hope we can have a good time with this.